Okay. All right. All right. Aloha. It's so nice to see you again here, welcoming you to another High Consciousness podcast at the Divine Quantum. I am Bia Yuri.
I'm Chris Rabello.
And to make sure you don't miss any episode, make sure you click on the subscribe button and thumbs up on this video if you like, and leave a comment below what were the main insights you got from this talk today.
Today, we'll have the honor to talk to a transformational leader and the best-selling author of The Magic of Surrender, and You Are the One.
KUTE BLACKSON, he was born in Ghana, West Africa, was son of a Japanese mother and a legendary spiritual leader dad who navigated through 300 churches across Ghana and had massive following in UK. By his early teens, KUTE was being destined to rise up to his father's legacy. But that would all change when BLACKSON rejected the path his father laid out for him and chose his own path instead. Strengthened from both his father and his community, KUTE won the lottery for the green card and headed to the US, where in the beginning he had a little bit of difficult and struggle in every aspect and hit the rock bottom. But he rediscovered his path to freedom and rebuilt his life and becoming a very respected voice in spirituality and consciousness. So thank you so much for being here with us today. Such an honor. Yes, thank you.
Thanks for having me. Thank you. Thank you for the welcome.
So, KUTE, in your book, The Magic of Surrender, you talk a lot about letting go and surrendering, which at first, when we hear that, we often thinking that by letting go, we are being a loser, right? Because we surrender, we just have to accept things passively. Can you tell us a little bit more? What do you mean by surrender and letting go?
Yeah, I think in our culture today, we have this misconception, right? That surrender is weak, that surrender is passive, that surrender is giving up, that surrender is waving the white flag, that if you surrender, you're going to be a doormat, you're going to be a victim, you're going to be left behind, you're not going to manifest your goals, your dreams, your desires, that if you surrender, you're going to get less in life. And really what I want is to reframe this whole idea of surrender and make it something inspiring, because I believe that surrender is really the most powerful thing that we can do as human beings. If you look at all of the great ones, Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Bruce Lee, Muhammad Ali, at some point in their lives, they all had to surrender themselves to life. They all had to surrender themselves to the universe, to their soul, to their purpose, to their mission. And in that surrender, they were able to transcend their own personal ego's limitations, and they tapped into a sort of a dimension of themselves that's truly infinite, and life was able to use them and move through them. So really what I'm saying is, in surrender, what if you didn't get less, but you got more than you could even imagine, more than you could visualize, more than you could write in your journal, more than you could actually conceive with your logic, with your mind, with your own ego's capacity to manifest. And so in surrender is a letting go. It's a letting go of control, or I should say the idea or the illusion of control. As human beings, we want to control everything, because there's this illusion that I think actually control is an illusion. And so we have this illusion of control. So surrender is letting go of the illusion of control. Surrender is to stop trying to force life to fit our limited idea of how we think it should be. It's when we stop trying to manipulate life to fit a small idea or box. Surrender is when we let go, we give up the idea of who we think we should be and how we think life should be, so that we can truly open to the authentic life that is seeking to express, the authentic, highest and best life that is truly seeking to manifest. And so for me, I think surrender is the password to freedom. Surrender is the real secret to manifestation, because when we surrender, we take the limitations off of life, and we're truly available and truly open and truly receptive to the magic that is inherent in life. That's why I say, you know, if you want more magic in your life, magic in terms of possibility and abundance and joy and beyond what you can imagine, you have to surrender. To me, it's really the key.
Yes.
And so
Was
that's
any moment in your life that you kind of had that aha moment where you like surrendered and then magic happened? And was there any specific moment in your life that happened?
Yeah, there've been many moments in my life. I mean, the book, I just give an example because the Magic of Surrender book was not the book I wanted to write. The magic, and so I had to surrender to the book about surrender because I had all sorts of ideas and my own agenda as to the book I wanted to write, the book I wanted to create, the book I thought would be a bestseller, the book I thought publishers would want, the book I thought, you know, my audience would want. And I remember having a big a whiteboard on my wall with literally hundreds of titles and topics and ideas, and that would be great, that would be great, that would be great, but none of them really resonated. None of them really felt authentic and true in my heart. And the only word that stood out was the word surrender. And I resisted it, thinking, I don't want to write about surrender because we have this connotation about surrender and it's going to be a fight. And it's like, you know, you have to go to the dentist, but you don't really want to go to the dentist. And so I had to surrender to the book that was seeking to be written. And when I did, honestly, magic happened. But what I realized is the seeds of surrender were planted a few years before, because the book was inspired. My mother, who was the love of my life, you know, she raised me, and I've known love in my life because of my mother. And she was diagnosed in 2016 with stomach cancer. It was a big shock. I was on tour for my first book, You Are the One, and traveling the world. And then I get this news. Life has a way of humbling you, you know, in some interesting ways. And so I started to fly back and forth from Los Angeles to London, where my mother lived, to be with her in her chemo sessions. And so basically every month I was in LA for literally a week in chemo with her for 3-4 days and holding her hand and taking care of her. And it was what started off as the worst year of my life turned out to be the best year of my life, because I went into this experience with my own agenda of, I'm going to heal my mother, I'm going to give alternative therapies and green juice and get her better. And honestly, within a few months, I realized that nothing I did was really going to help, that she had her own journey. And so I surrendered to that process. And in the surrender, I just got to sit with her and be with her and love her. And we would sit and have tea and all these things that I was too busy, or thought I was too busy to do, because I was running around trying to, you know, inspire the planet. And I realized all of these things I missed out on just sitting and looking at my mother and taking walks in the park. And so we had this incredible experience. And about 6 months into this experience, the doctors finally said to her, there's nothing else we can do. So basically, you know, you're going to die, and get your affairs in order. And you know, you prepare for this moment. I've been surrendering, but that moment was real. And my heart just cracked open, and I was just, you know, in tears. And I looked at my mother in the eyes. And this was a moment of surrender where I looked her in the eyes and I said 2 questions. Number 1, are you afraid? And my mother's this little Japanese woman, and she looks me in the eyes and she says, no, I'm not afraid, because I know I'm not just this physical body. This physical body will dissolve. This physical body will die. But what I am will never die, and I will always be with you from the other side. I mean, she was fearless. Then I looked at my mother in the eyes and I said, is there anything I can do for you, like as your son, to make your final days easier? Like, what can I do? What do you need? Where do you want to go? And she looked me in the eyes and she said, there's nothing I need and there's nothing I want. I said, well, what do you want? What can I do? And she said, all I want for my life is what God wants for my life. And I realized in that moment, she was in complete surrender to the highest unfolding of her destiny. She wasn't attached to living. She wasn't resisting. She wasn't attached to dying. She was just totally open to the highest. And I think that is when I realized the power of surrender in real life, in a given moment. I mean, she didn't cry this whole year. She didn't feel like a victim. She didn't feel sorry for herself. She wasn't mad. She was just surrendered. And in that surrender, she was truly free, free to be open, free to be in the moment, free to be with me, free to love. And that's when I saw the power of surrender. So that was a huge gift to me. And as a result, you know, the book would never have happened had that experience not have happened. And so it's just unfolded so much. And I think if we look at the best things that have happened in our lives, meeting your soulmate, meeting that friend, meeting that business partner, having that experience, most of it we didn't plan. It just happened in the process of living life. And so I think when we truly surrender, we're available, we're open to the magic, and so, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And now you inspire, like you can share this amazing message. Like your book is amazing. We read The Magic of Surrender.
Oh, thank you.
Amazing. Your message is like really amazing. And now because of that experience, you can share, the magic of surrender with everyone.
Yeah.
And it's not really like being, a loser, but knowing how to sometimes letting the higher consciousness and the divine take over. And
yeah, life has been around for much longer than you and I. To me, the old paradigm way of manifesting is actually an ego-based model that is limited. Now, you can manifest that way, but I really feel that as a humanity right now, we are in a pivotal moment in humanity's evolution. The last couple of years with the pandemic and what have you, I believe is actually the universe evolving us all to the next level and a whole new way of living, which is living surrender. Like the last few years, we've been put into a global seminar on surrender, where we've been shifted from an ego-based way of living, which is all about me. And the question we've been taught to ask in the old paradigm of living and manifesting is simply, what do I want? What do I want? This me, this I, this perception of what I think myself to be. And I tell people, you can manifest with your ego, with your mind, with your personality, with your will, and you can have a good life. But usually it won't necessarily be an epic life. If you look at Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. He could not have planned this life. He could not have sat there and go, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to spend 27 years in prison, and then I'm going to come out and I'm going to be Mandela. Now, should he have not spent 27 years in prison? Should he have only spent 2 years in prison? What if he had spent 2 years in prison? I think it took 27 years. That life had this intelligence that perhaps it took 27 years for him to be in prison, to marinate, to be cooked. It took 27 years to develop the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, the psychological compassion and forgiveness and vision, so that when he came out, even though he was 27 years in prison, and I don't wish that on anyone, when he came out, he was able to tap into a deeper dimension of his soul force. And in that surrender to his true path and destiny, life was able to manifest and use him. And so the old paradigm is all about, what do I want? And you can, you might get what you wanted or what you thought you wanted, only to realize that what you thought you wanted wasn't what you really wanted. It was just what you thought you wanted based on who you thought you were. And so if we're not really in touch with who we truly are, then often our goals are going to be projections of unmet needs from our childhood. If maybe dad wasn't there, we were bullied, we didn't feel enough, we didn't feel loved. So all of a sudden, if I can achieve that thing and get that thing, then I'm going to be worthy and lovable and enough. And it doesn't truly fulfill us. Nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't truly fulfill us. And so I think in surrender, the new paradigm is a deeper question. It's an infinite question. The question becomes, what is it that life is seeking to express through me? What is it that my soul is seeking to manifest? What is the deepest impulse of what life is seeking to manifest and create through me and speak through me and write through me and business through me and live through me? And in surrender, it's about attuning to that, feeling what that is, and then aligning yourself with the deepest, most authentic impulse of what life is seeking to manifest, and then aligning your personality and your goals and your structure and your resources with that. Now you are in the flow. Now you're truly in the flow, the highest flow of life. That's when I think the magic happens and the miracles happen, because you are in harmony with nature. And I really believe that what life, the divine, the universe, this infinite intelligence that is the source of all existence and all manifestation, what life can manifest through us is more than what we can manifest on our own. And if you look at Mother Teresa, I mean, how did she do? She was just a little woman. How did she do that? Look at Gandhi, look at Martin Luther King. I mean, if people think, for anyone who thinks surrender is weak, look at Bruce Lee, look at Muhammad Ali. This wasn't weak. This was miraculous.
Yeah, I think that's a very good example you say about the Mandela, because I think each person live in the only prison, you know, or
exactly
depression,
yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
But today in society, there is so much conflict, right? Competition and also pressure for the success. We often feel overwhelmed because we were told that you have to be over achievers, yeah, and hustle, right?
Yes.
How can you find a place of peace and happiness among all these pressures?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you know, I think society conditions us in so many ways, right? We're conditioned. And I think we have to really know who we truly are. And when we know who we truly are and we connect with what we truly are and who we truly are, then that is the ultimate freedom and peace. Because at that deepest level, you realize what you are is whole, perfect, and complete. You know, as children, look, if you look at a child, we're born. If you look into a child's eyes, they're in touch with their perfection. They're in touch with their wholeness. They're in touch with their completeness. They're not sitting there going, and when they're really, you know, young, before their condition, right? They're not sitting there going, oh, you know, they'll jump on the table and sing and dance naked. They don't care, like, oh, am I a little fat? How am I going to look on Instagram? You know, maybe I can't sing like I can't sing like you. I can't sing like, you know, Madonna or Celine Dion. They're just being. They're just being. But then the conditioning starts. Parents say, hey, you got to be a little bit more like your sister. You got to be a bit more like that person. You got to get what? Why do you get A's? Why do you get A plus? And so the conditioning process starts. And in that conditioning process, we start to lose touch with who we truly are. So we're born whole, perfect, and complete, in touch with our perfection, in touch with our enoughness, in touch with our divinity. Then we meet our parents. Our parents, you know, bless them, they're doing the best that they can do based on their past, their grandparents, their conditioning. But we're all born into a preset framework of conditioning. Maybe there's, you know, generational kind of traumas. Maybe there's dysfunction. Maybe there's an alcoholic. Maybe the parents are great, but they're just emotionally, they don't know how to meet our needs, and they don't know how to, you know, give us that sense of that validation and love that we need. And so two things happen. The first thing as children is we learn to shut down, disconnect, and not feel. And as we shut down, disconnect, not feel, the layers of unfelt feeling begin to build up. And so we often develop a mechanism to not feel the pain around us, right? The second thing is we learn to develop a role, a mask, a persona, the sense of, who do I need to be in order to get love? Who do I need to be in order to get validation? Because on some level, I feel not enough as I am. You know, maybe dad says, hey, girls don't act that way, or boys don't do that. Or in order to be loved, we start thinking, oh, I got to be a certain way. I got to be pretty. I have to be nice. I have to, you know, take care of people. I have to be a certain way in order to be loved. And so the conditioning process begins where unconsciously, from feeling loved conditionally, we start seeking validation and love outside of ourselves. And in that conditioning process, we become a version of ourselves that we think we are, and we start contorting ourselves into a shape, and we end up becoming the version of ourselves that we think we need to be in order to get love and validation and approval. And so in that conditioning process, we start losing touch with our innate perfection. our innate divinity, our innate wholeness. And when we're not in touch with that innate wholeness, and now we're seeking it outside of ourselves, when society and media and social media and, you know, advertising starts conditioning us, you're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough. But if you just, you know, drink this drink, if you just wear this thing, if you just, you know, then you're going to be enough. And because if we're not in touch with our wholeness, perfection, and innate divinity, then it's easy to start getting swayed by the voices of media, the voices of competition, the voices of, you know, good and bad and scarcity. But when we truly know who we are and we remember who we are, then we know that we're unique. We are unique manifestations of the divine. We are unique manifestations of the infinite intelligence, that there really is no competition. And so I think it starts with truly knowing who we are, remembering who we are, knowing that we're not just this physical body. We're not just this ego structure. We're not just this personal identity. What we are is whole. What we are is more. What we are is an expression of the divine. And at that level, truly, the spiritual level, there's no competition. At that spiritual level, we're all one. That my success is your success and your success is my success. There's only oneness. We've just gotten kind of conditioned into this illusion of separation. And so I think what's necessary is kind of a spiritual awakening, you know, more than anything else.
But did you always have that mindset? I know you were born in a very spiritual environment, but did you always have this mindset of, you know, believing that, for example, your life, you're conditioned to, you're expected to be a certain, you know, to follow your dad's
Yeah, look,
when did you have this breakthrough and you realize that, you know, how was that experience for you?
I think I always had this innate feeling, but the reality is, yeah, my father had 300 churches and I was supposed to take over my father's churches. So at age 8, I'm speaking in my father's churches. At 14, I go through a ceremony to get ordained as a minister. And I knew when that moment happened that this was not right. I knew when that moment happened that it wasn't aligned. But as a 14-year-old kid, human being, you know, even though my soul felt that something's not right, my fear, I was too afraid to speak my truth. My fear was, if I speak my truth and honor my truth of what I feel deep in my soul, then I'm going to lose my father's love. Then I'm going to be outcast. Then I'm going to be alone. And so for 4 years, I hid my truth. For 4 years, I suppressed my truth to get love, validation, approval, security, connection. And I hid my truth. And honestly, those 4 years were hell. You know, it was just nothing but suffering, because I knew, I think when we lie, one of the things that I think keeps us stuck the most are all the lies that we tell ourselves. And when we lie to ourselves, there's a part of us that knows that we are not in integrity, and it's painful. And so I was in 4 years of pain and turmoil and questioning and depression and internal conflict, until the pain was so great that I looked into my future. At 18, I had to make a decision. Do I go to university or not? And I looked into my future and I saw that I could take the expected path, follow my father's footsteps. Many of us, we take the expected path of what society and, you know, everyone expects of us, right? You know, go to college, get married, get the education, get a job, go on vacation, and then you die. And I was like, is that life? Is there more? And so I realized I could follow the expected path, age 20, age 30, age 40, age 50, be successful. But I realized if I'm successful following someone else's life, if I'm successful being someone I'm not, what kind of success is that? And you can't be truly fulfilled and happy living someone else's life and being someone that you're not, you know? And it just felt like a soul suicide. And so I felt this calling, like something in my soul calling me to come to America, come to America, come to America. Like I wanted to go into this field of personal growth and spirituality, come to America, but it made no sense to my mind. And I tell people sometimes what your soul guides you to do won't make sense, and what your soul guides you to do won't be convenient. It won't be convenient and it won't make sense in the moment. But I felt this calling. And so I decided that nothing was worth my freedom, and nothing was worth compromising my truth. I think to truly transform ourselves as human beings, we have to be willing to acknowledge the lies that we are telling ourselves. As human beings, we're constantly lying to ourselves about who we are to get love, validation, and approval. We're constantly lying to ourselves about what we feel. We stay in that relationship that we know deep down in our soul
Wait.
isn't right, but we stay and we're convinced.
Sorry, 1 second. Now you froze here for us.
I'm back.
Okay, now you're
Back. Back and
Back.
forth. Back and forth.
wait. Now you're back. Now you're good. Sorry.
Okay,
We can cut that part.
continue.
Yes, good. Now
Okay, and we sometimes stay in that relationship that we know isn't right, we know isn't aligned, but we stay out of safety, out of comfort, out of familiarity. We stay in jobs that we hate, that we know is not the true expression of our potential and our purpose and why we were put on the planet. And so, to me, I think if people were just to start by asking them, so this is what I had to ask myself at that age. I didn't know it as a process, but I began a process of questioning, which is, what lies am I telling myself? Just what lies am I telling myself? To me, there is no true transformation without truth. If we want to there's no transformation without truth. And I think on some level, happiness, fulfillment is actually quite simple. It's not always easy, but it's simple. It's like feel the truth, acknowledge the truth, speak the truth, live the truth, tell the truth, happy life. But because of our conditioning, right, we often don't. And so if we can just start with, what lies am I telling myself? Number two, what am I pretending to not know? Because in so many ways, we play this game of confusion. I'm not sure, I'm not clear, I don't know what my purpose is, when deep down, we know what we need to do. And number three, I think we can ask ourselves, like, what is the pain? What is the cost of lying to myself? When we lie to ourselves, it's painful. It's meant to be painful. To me, the pain that we feel is actually a gift. It's simply giving us feedback to where we're not in alignment. And so I think for me, at that age, I had to go through some things, to actually not live in my integrity, to feel the pain, to then have to make some choices. And that led me to having a conversation with my father, which was a very, very challenging, my father's not someone he's old school, right? He's not someone you have a conversation with. My father's the type of person where it's my way or it's my way, you choose which way you would like. And so I had to have a conversation with my father and tell him I wasn't taking over. We didn't speak for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And it was very painful. And sometimes people think that when you follow your purpose and when you follow your dream, it's like the universe and the unicorns and the rainbows. It's like, no, sometimes when you follow your dream and your purpose, you face the challenges. Sometimes when you follow your dream and your purpose, that's when the real challenges begin. And many times people start thinking, when they start facing those challenges, that they're doing something wrong. And so they turn back, like, I'm following my purpose and, shit's falling apart and things aren't working. But I think that actually when that happens, it's life testing you, that you're actually on the right path, because life is now preparing you and seasoning you and marinating you, preparing you to develop the mental, the emotional, the psychological, the spiritual muscle to be able to fulfill your goal, your dream, and your destiny. And so, there were many challenges.
Yeah, if you didn't have those challenges, you wouldn't be where you are today. You wouldn't have this spiritual, awakening and be such a voice to all of us, right? So tell us a little bit more about that experience. So when you turned 18, you had to make that decision and you talked to your dad, and then you applied for the green card, and things were so aligned, right? That
the way you make it sounds quite easy. Like, you applied. It was like I spoke to my father and I was terrified. I was terrified because I thought my life was over. So that was a moment of surrender where I said, you know what? I'm being guided. I have no idea what's on the other side. I just know that I have to do it. And this is why I tell people, the next level of your life requires the next level of you. The next level of you requires that you let go and you release what is no longer in alignment, what is no longer working. Yet as human beings, what we tend to do is we hold on, we hold on to what's no longer working out of safety, familiarity, and comfort, but we don't realize that holding on to what's not working, that relationship, that job, that situation, that environment, that person just keeps us stuck. And we don't realize that we are the ones in holding on that is blocking our blessing. So part of surrender is letting go of what's not aligned, letting go of what's not authentic, letting go of what is no longer a vibrational match. And when you let go of what's no longer aligned, you actually make space. And so that's what I had to do. So I had this conversation with my father, terrified, shaking. And then I was in this moment of darkness where I thought, oh my God, what have I done? I started questioning myself. Then I said this prayer to God. I said, okay, universe, I'm following my soul. I'm surrendering. Like right now, I feel like you've dropped me in the ocean in the middle of the night and I have no idea where I'm going. But I can feel that it's right. And I tell people, you don't have to know where you're going in order to get to exactly where you need to be. There is an intelligence inside of you that is the source of life and creation. It is the very intelligence that is breathing your heart. It's the very intelligence that's digesting your food. Like we're not sitting here going, digest breakfast this morning, doing some special technique, digest that. It's just happening. The same intelligence that is beating your heart, beating my heart, enabling us to have this conversation is the same intelligence that's functioning 8 billion people and all existence and the sun and the moon and the sky. The same intelligence, it knows if we're willing to let go, it knows how to fulfill itself through us. And so I said this prayer, I said, universe, if any of this self-help, spiritual stuff, law of attraction, blah, is real, like I need to know right now. I need to know that this stuff works because I have jumped into the ocean and there's no net. And you hear like leap and the net will appear. There's no net. And so I need to know. Literally within 2 days, I went to the library of my school and someone hands me a magazine called The Economist. I never read this magazine before, but I felt that feeling. And I think life gives us clues. I look in the back of this magazine and it said, the American government is giving away 55,000 green cards in the green card lottery. I felt chills in my body. I knew I was going to win. And I applied through this law firm, not sure if this was real or not real. And I was told that unless I heard back by September the 18th, then move on. And every day I was going to the mailbox, expecting the mail, going to the mailbox, expecting my green. I was visualizing, my green card with my name on it, didn't know. And I cut out a piece of paper, colored it green, wrote my name on it. Didn't know that green cards at the time were pink, right? And,
yeah.
Visualized the president of the United States shaking my hand, right? And every day, no response. The final day, September the 18th came, no response. I told my mother, I'm going to pack my bags and I am going to the US. Call it illegal. I'm going and I'm not coming back. I just feel it. That night, we got a phone call from the law firm. It says, Mr. Blackson. I said, yes. He said, we just got notification today that you won a green card. And we can't believe it because it's never happened to one of our clients. And I started jumping and celebrating with my mother. And in the midst, this was like 1 a.m. in the morning. In the midst of that celebration, I heard this voice that said, did you doubt? Why do you seem so surprised? You knew you were going to win. And that's when I knew that there's an intelligence. There's an intelligence that is guiding us. And the more we surrender to that, the more we get ourselves out of the way, the more that intelligence can manifest and create and unfold. And so that brought me to the US, 2 suitcases, $800 in my pocket, 1 suitcase full of clothes, 1 suitcase full of like self-help books into Los Angeles. And just
what was your idea when you pack your suitcase? What was your idea when you arrived in US? What were your plans? Did you have any plans?
You know what? I think back now and I think to how crazy I was. I was just following literally, when you're 18, 19, you're just kind of like stupid, kind of, ignorance is bliss. And so I had these 2 suitcases and I got a map of Los Angeles and showed up and didn't know anyone, no plan. Like, what was I thinking? Like, no plan, nowhere to stay, nothing. Just showed up, told
Wow.
the shuttle bus guy, take me somewhere safe and cheap where I can stay for a few days. Takes me to Venice. I don't know if you know Los Angeles, but takes me to Venice Beach, drops me off in Venice Beach. Back in 20 years ago, Venice Beach was crazy. Drops me off in Venice Beach. I cried for like 2 weeks. You know, it was just the feeling of being alone. But deep down, as challenging as it was, I knew I was on the right path. As challenging as it was, I knew that I was being guided. And when I look back now, I see the hand of life, the universe, the intelligence guiding every moment, even in those moments that seemed most lost. This is why I say sometimes when things don't go according to plan, when that relationship doesn't work out, when you don't manifest that goal, dream, and desire that you really wanted, this is grace. It's actually the love and blessing of life that the thing you thought you wanted didn't happen. But often from the perspective of our ego, we're not able to see. We're not able to see why it's happening in the moment. We're unable to see why it's not happening in the moment. Like if you think back to maybe both of you, like, and those listening, maybe a relationship in your life that maybe years ago you were so sure about, you thought you met the one, this is the soulmate, this is the, like you're gonna have kids with this person, like thank you universe, this is the person, you couldn't imagine not being with that person, and then it didn't work out. And you were heartbroken and you couldn't believe it. And, you know, you're mad at the universe, mad at God. And then we get over it. And now you look back today and you think, what the hell was I thinking? Like, thank God that didn't work out, you know? And so sometimes when things don't work out how we think in the moment, we don't understand why. Part of surrender, and what we tend to do is we start making up false meanings about it's because I'm not enough, life doesn't love. And so I just tell people, if you're going to truly live surrender, when things don't go according to plan, take a step back. And two things. Number one, trust that life and the universe is always working for your highest good, even if you can't see it right now. It's always working for your highest good. And if something doesn't work out, life is going to bring you something or someone even more amazing, even better than you can imagine. That's I think, super important. You know, the second thing is in surrender, I think it's so important, the quality of curiosity. Being curious is a key quality in surrender. So when something doesn't go according to plan or it's confusing, rather than saying, this is what it is, this is what it's not, being curious, say, you know what? I don't know what this means. What could it mean? Because we're so quick to assign a meaning to a situation, a meaning to a relationship, a meaning to an event. The challenge is the meanings that we make up about something are limited because often they're limited to our past experience. So now we don't realize that we are limiting our current reality and experience with the limited meaning we're making up, rather than just being in a sense of, you know what, this thing didn't happen. I'm not sure what this means. What could it mean? Let me be available. Let me be open. Then we are able to allow life to lead us. Then we are able to allow life to show us, life to guide us. And that, to me, is true surrender. And so you could say part of surrender is an embrace of a feminine aspect, of a feminine dimension. And I think as we're moving into a new world, a new paradigm, a new era, we are being invited to integrate the feminine with the masculine to live the principle of surrender, which is the willingness to dance in the unknown and allow ourselves to be led by life. And I think that's where the magic happens, because when we allow life to lead us, we're not just imposing onto life, this is what it's going to be. We're truly available. And when we impose onto life, this is what it's going to be. Many times what we project onto life is limited by our past. And when our past is projecting onto our present or our future, we limit our future by our past versus being just available and open.
Yes, there's that quote that I really like, is that God writes right and crooked lines. Do you guys have that quote in English? I'm not sure if I'm translating that quite right, but that's a very famous saying in Portuguese, that sometimes, you know, God or life, universe, however you want to call it, your belief, but has your way of having it right, writing it right for you. But in crooked lines. You think it's wrong, that something's wrong.
I get what you're saying.
But yeah, it's a very reaching factor, like how I ended up in US and Christian. But like I came to US. I'm from Brazil, and I was running a crazy boyfriend that cheated on me and all that. And I was like, why is this happening? I thought it was the end of the world. And then I ended up coming to Hawaii for vacation, and then life just unfolded to me. So sometimes our biggest, things are just.
And most of the time, we end up surrendering, like when shit hits the fan and we're at the worst edge, we're falling off the cliff. Then we're like, okay, I surrender finally. But I'm saying, like, what if we didn't wait till the worst disaster? Like, what if as a humanity we said, you know what? Let me start from surrender and live in that openness. So what I want to really also clarify is surrender doesn't mean non-action. Surrender doesn't mean just surrender, just sit around and do nothing, sit in my couch and not follow my dreams, just sit around. No, surrender is to feel your deepest truth, connect with your deepest truth. What is the universe seeking to express? But then giving 100%. You give 100, you take action 100%, you give 100%, you go 100%. But the key is to not get attached to the outcome. When we don't get attached to the outcome, then we're available, then we're open to the course correction of life. Like, as you said, it took you somewhere that you didn't expect. You went on a vacation to Hawaii, wasn't your plan, but here it happened. But when we get so attached that, no, it's got to be this, it's got to be, that, then you maybe wouldn't have gone on vacation to Hawaii. And then the next thing would have happened. And then you would, no, I have to leave Hawaii. But here you are. And this, to me, this is life. This is the magic.
Yes, that's amazing.
Why you choose LA?
I don't think I chose LA. I think LA chose me.
Chose you.
I think LA chose me. And it's funny because during the pandemic, I had a house in Phoenix. So I was kind of camping out in Phoenix for a year. And then talk about surrender. My soul said, go to Miami, go to Miami, go to Miami. I'm like, Miami, why am I Miami? Okay, go to Miami. So I ended up selling my house in Phoenix, moving to I got rid of my apartment in LA, was in Phoenix, sold my house in Phoenix, moved to Miami, just again, following my guidance. That's it, following my soul. I think many times we block the flow with our mind's constant questioning. The mind's constant need to know, well, what does this mean? And why does this mean? And why is this happening? And why is this not happening? And because we start questions, and the need to know everything is the ego's way of trying to control. And the ego's job is to reinforce its existence. And the ego's job is to protect us and keep us safe, to make sure we don't get hurt again like we were hurt when we were young. And so one of the ways it controls is if I can understand everything, then I'm not going to be hurt. And so for me, I think part of surrender is just feeling the guidance, following the flow. So now I'm guided to Miami. I went to Miami thinking, Miami is the new place. I'm done with LA. I'm going to be in Miami forever, right? I ended up in Miami for a year. It was an amazing year for whatever reason. I was there energetically, spiritually, ended up in Miami, not thinking I was going to move. And sure enough, at the end of the year, it's like, it's time to move. Time to move. Don't renew your lease. Time to move. And of all places, guess where I end up back? Los Angeles. So, everything has a cycle, I think, and a rhythm and a timing, and I think when we can surrender and if we surrender, you can feel the flow of life.
Yeah.
When you're able to surrender, you can feel that life, like the ocean, the waves have a flow. I mean, you said that you live in Hawaii. So those surfers, right? Those surfers, they go to the ocean. They lie on the surfboard. They don't go to the ocean with a fire hose and say, we're going to make the waves. They just go to the ocean and they lie on the board and they feel the wave. And then they feel the wave. And when they feel the wave coming, then they catch the wave and then they go into action. Life is the ocean. It's we don't make the waves happen. But I think the more we can become attuned to if you become still, you start feeling the flow of life. Life is flowing and guiding me here. And then when we can live and align and work and act in harmony with the natural flow of nature, that's when the magic happens. Because now we're surfing the big wave. You know, then you see those big wave surfers in Hawaii, like on a huge, humongous wave, and they're like relaxed. They're in the flow. They're not. They're just in harmony with nature. That's to me the process of surrender.
That's amazing comparison. Amazing.
Yeah, Blackson, a lot of people nowadays feel depressed, right?
Depressed.
Because they can't find the purpose in life, or they can give a meaning to life. In your opinion, is life is a suffering inevitable? What do you think the real mean purpose of life it is?
Yeah, I think. Look, we are souls. We incarnate into the human experience in order to learn, to grow, and evolve. And so I tell people, stop seeking your purpose. Many times this whole obsession with find your purpose, your purpose is not something you need to find. The constant seeking of your purpose takes you away from the moment right now. The constant seeking of your purpose is sometimes the ego's tactic to reinforce its existence. And so when you realize that you are a soul, you incarnate into the human experience in order to learn, to grow, to evolve, then you start seeing all of life as a classroom, all of life as a university, all of life as an evolutionary growth opportunity to evolve and grow and learn. And every situation, every experience, every relationship, every challenge, every heartbreak, everything becomes your teacher. And if that's the case, then the purpose of life, no matter what you do or don't do, the purpose of life is your evolution. The purpose of life is learning the lessons where you are with who you're with so that you can grow and evolve and realize who you truly are as a divine being and manifest that love into the world. And so every moment of life, regardless of if you work in Ralph's, work in, Tesco, or work on the beach, or have a big business, every moment of your life is actually your purpose. So long as you are bringing that awareness of your soul and using every situation and every experience to grow and learn and evolve. Purpose is not something you do, it's the evolution in every moment. So life is the ultimate purpose. That's on the spiritual level. And so you can always be growing and evolving and living your purpose as a human being in this process of life, no matter what you do. It's not dependent on a job. Now, if someone on a more personal level, I still tell people, stop seeking your purpose. Don't seek your purpose. Instead, move in the direction of what you love. Move in the direction of what turns you on. Move in the direction of what brings you most aliveness. If you move in the direction of what brings you most alive, as you take a step, even if you don't know where it's going to lead you, that's why I say you don't have to know where you're going to get to where you need to be. There's something in you that knows. If you take a step, in the process of taking that step, life will then reveal the next step. Then you take another step. Life will reveal the next step. Many times we're trying to figure out life 15 steps ahead, and we can't do that. Purpose is evolutionary, but if you take the step, then you take another step. Life shows you what's next, then you show what's next, then it shows you what's next. And then many times you'll start finding, oh, all of a sudden, 3-4 years later, like one thing happens, next thing happened, then you have your own business and this thing happens. Like, whoa, I didn't plan this, but here I am. And you live into your purpose. And so you can be living your purpose no matter what. And so a few questions people can ask: what do I most love? What do I love? What would I do for free? What makes me feel alive? Number 2, ask yourself, what actual tangible skills do I actually have? And I think everything we go through, every job, every experience, everything from the past that we've been through, even stuff we hated, many times there were specific things that we needed to learn and skills we needed to learn that were going to be useful for our actual purpose. And the third thing is to ask ourselves, what unique gifts do I have and what problems am I uniquely able to solve? A lot of times people focus on making money, which is also, if you just focus on making money and there's no purpose, you'll also end up kind of feeling dissatisfied or depressed. And I tell people, don't focus on making money, focus on being of service. and you're of service when you solve someone's pain, problem, or challenge. And money is really the transfer of energy when you solve someone's pain, problem, or challenge. And the last thing I think people can focus on is which group of people do you feel a natural connection with? And maybe it's the elderly, maybe it's teenage pregnant girls, or young, teenage boys, or the whales in the ocean. Like, what group of souls do you feel a connection with? Because I think that shows you who you might be put onto the planet to serve.
Yeah.
And I will just lastly say, if you want to find your purpose, simply respond to the need in the moment that's right in front of you. Many times we want to save the world, do big things, do massive things, change the world. But the person that's right in front of us, our neighbor, our child, our mother, our daughter, our friend, we don't even see them. And so if you simply respond to the need that's right in front of you, respond to the one, serve the one, life will give you two. Serve the two, life gives you three. Serve the three, life gives you four. Four leads to eight, eight leads to more, and it just expands. And each step of the way, you develop the mental, the emotional muscle to live the next level of your purpose. So purpose is evolutionary.
That's very interesting, because I think majority of people, when it's even like spiritual coaches or like authors, when they talk about purpose, it's all this talk about find your purpose, find your purpose. And I know so many people that get like depressed because they find a freaking purpose. And now you just clarify, like you very well said, like how there is no such thing as like finding a purpose. It's more being here and letting this.
And like let's say someone is a real estate agent, or someone is a grocery store, working in a grocery store. Well, I'm not living my purpose. No, your purpose is not what you do. What you do and who you're being, two different things. So you can live your purpose no matter what you're doing, even in the grocery store checkout person. Right? If your purpose is to ultimately evolve, grow, and love, and spread love on the planet. And so while you're doing whatever you're doing, your job, you can still be transmitting whatever you feel your unique purpose is through the vehicle of that expression, through the vehicle of that business, through the vehicle of as a plumber, as a cleaner, as a architect, you can be expressing your purpose through that vehicle of that job, regardless.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Good. We've heard about your amazing transformational experience that people around the world are talking about. So for you guys that don't know, maybe you can tell us a little bit better, but you used to take one person and take it to India and take all their belongings away.
Yeah.
And then now, because of the transformation, the power of the message, that the transformation that it could bring to those people, you are creating like a group experience of that in Bali. Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience? That's very, very interesting.
Sure. The little bit I will say, but it has to be experience. The little bit I would say is, I used to do the one-on-one journeys to India, where I take away your passport, take away your money, you have a backpack, a pair of clothes, you're stuck with me for about 12 days, and I make you sign your will in case you don't come back. You write letters to everyone in your life in case you don't come back. And I take you through a 2-week, 12-day transformational journey that is all about freedom. And it was very powerful. And long story short, now I don't do those one-on-one journeys anymore, but now I do it in Bali with about 20 people in a very different way. But it's a 12-day, it's called Boundless Bliss, and it's a 12-day immersion, experiential seminar training without walls, where I use Bali as the seminar room. And I really facilitate a process that is designed to help people see what they're not aware of, to become aware of their patterns and conditionings. And then I create processes that are systematically designed to help free you from the conditioning. We all have patterns of conditioning that limit us from being fully expressed. So I create processes that help free you from patterns of your conditioning so that you can connect more with your own authentic self and be free to share your gifts with the world. So I do that twice a year. I just got back from
twice a year.
Bali.
Oh,
Twice a year.
I
want to
love
go.
Bali,
I wanted
yes.
to go.
Come anytime, please. Please come.
I wanted to go.
I feel like Bali is such a spiritual place. The energy is so powerful
Magical.
there. So,
Magical.
yeah. Is that why you chose Bali? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, Bali, again, one of those things where I was supposed to go to Malaysia to speak for a company there. I said yes, I had my ticket. I was guided to not go. No understanding why. I followed that guidance. And long story short, again, I was trying to book a ticket to Israel and Barcelona. My credit card didn't go through 3 times. Finally, I said to the travel agent, last time, just book it to Bali. My credit card went through. And that's how I ended up in Bali, literally days later, no plan, being guided in Bali again, literally guided from one step, to the next day, to the next day, and was guided to some really sacred vortexes and special spots that were very much off the beaten path. And then when I left, I felt such a vibrational realignment that I was guided again, like create a journey, not to India, to Bali, for people, for leaders and visionaries. And when these people, like there are souls destined to go on the journey, when they hear about this journey, they will feel it. And that was the guidance. And so it's been, I've done 19 of these journeys now.
19.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
so
since
in Bali, you also take all their belongings, and then you guys
not quite.
Yeah,
it's not quite that extreme in that way, but it's intense in other ways. Yeah, people can find that on the website.
On the website, that's amazing.
Every time you go there, you have a new experience, right?
It's profound. We've taken over about 400 people, because it's 20 people at a time. Billionaires, celebrities, entrepreneurs, athletes, black, white, straight. Yeah, I mean, every cross section of humanity, and it's miraculous.
Amazing. One day we're gonna join.
Anytime, please come.
Yeah. If you could say just one message to share with the world, what would that be?
I think the last thing then I would leave people with is this thought. It's a message. You are going to die.
Wow.
I would like you to sit with that. You are going to die. Nothing you do, no matter meditation, yoga, green juice, nothing, you're going to die. Bruce Lee died, Muhammad Ali died, Gandhi died, Mother Teresa died, Buddha died. You're going to die. It's not about if, it's about when. And I hope all of us, we live a long life. But the truth is, there's no guarantee when that moment will come. And so I would leave everyone to sit with, if death came right now, would you be ready? And if not, why not? What's unsaid? What's ungiven? What's unexpressed? What's uncommunicated? Who have you not forgiven? And what would you need to do, say, express, so that if death came today, you could be ready and you could be complete? Because when that moment comes and we die and we meet our maker, you can't go to God and say, God, can I get a refund on those 2 years in that relationship? Can I get a refund on those 5 years in that job I hated? It's gone. And so how would you need to live in such a way that you have no regrets? Because there's no refunds in this experience. And so I would just invite people, not as a sad thing, but as an inspiration, hold death close. Because when you hold death close and you feel the reality of death, hopefully it inspires you to move through your resistance and your fears. It inspires you to seize the moment and love fully and live fully and give your gifts. So you're going to die.
Yeah, that's such a powerful message, really, because if anything, it's the most powerful message, because I feel like we sometimes don't think that we're going to die, and we live in fear. But when we think that life has a time frame, we become more fearless.
Yes.
Start acting. So that's
Yes.
such a great message.
Yes.
Thank you so much, KUTE, for being here with us today and sharing like all this inspiring thoughts and messages. It's very, very nice to connect with you today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mahalo.
thank you. Mahalo.